haven't even started yet and I'm exhausted. I would say, guys, hold on, let me come closer. Hey there. So, this is oh God, I'm just going to have to stand awkwardly, aren't I? So this is going to be a new video for all of you because, just being coolly. As you can tell, I'm not only in a different location, but I've got stuff on the wall behind me. Well, know why? Well, it's because I'm following, I can't do that, my knees are so old. So, some of you may have seen or heard about this huge thing that's going on at YouTube at the moment where people are doing like these huge recaps of like obscure or, you know, pop culture sort of content and just, you know, not noting down all the information about it. And I thought, I like Percy Jackson. People here on my channel like Percy Jackson. So why not do a recap of the entirety of Percy Jackson and the Olympians? And that's what I'm doing today. So I've got my stuff ready on the wall. I've got my pictures. I've got string. And I'm dying in this heat. But I want to do this for you all because it's going to be a lot of fun. Even if I'm going to have to stand really awkwardly the whole time. But hopefully you enjoy this chaotic recap of Percy Jackson and the Olympians. But first, let's get into costume. Shabam! Oh, literally just as I've done this, not only have I gotten really hot, someone has started mowing the grass. Fabulous. But let's get on with it. And I will be zooming in here and there on the wall because I realise it's kind of far away. But let's just get to it. Let's get to it. So, oh God, I'm on a bed and I'm nearly fell off. Okay, let us start with the fact that we meet Percys Jackson at the very start of this book. And he is telling us he did not want to be a half-blood. And you know what? It's fair enough. These shirts attract heat so much. I am so hot right now. I'm regretting my decision, but let's just carry on. So yes, we meet Percy and he is at school. What is the name of the school, you ask? Well, I have to double check. What is the name of the school? Why aren't you telling me the name of the school? I think it's the Auntie Academy. It's not saying, but I'm pretty sure it's the Auntie Academy. But anyway, Percy is at school. He is at school with his best friend, Grover Underwood. Now, Grover has crutches. He is someone who's bullied a lot in school because he's a very sensitive soul, and we love that about him. We love that he is a sensitive person. And they are good friends, and Percy protects him from the school bully, Nancy Bobofet. Now, did I bring a picture of Nancy? No, because I forgot. But he is also subjected to cruelty by Mrs. Dodds, who you will see is in the villain section, and we will be getting to that shortly. But don't worry, he has an ally in the form of Mr. Brunner. Now, oh fuck. Oh no. Ow. So I could not survive as a demigod because not only have I poked a hole in the ceiling, I've hit myself in the face. Anyway, they are at a museum right now to do with the Greek gods because Mr. Brunner is his Latin teacher. Mrs. Dodds is also here. She is his pre-algebra teacher. I don't know what that means. I'm assuming it's just some kind of maths teacher. We just have maths all in one class, so I'm just assuming it's like a separate maths class. I don't know. And they are learning about the Greek gods because Latin, Greek gods, I guess that connects. And basically Percy is answering a bunch of questions to do with the Greek gods, and Mr. Brunner is like, hey, this stuff is important. What then happens is that he causes problems with, I forget that Nancy Bobofet is not on here, with Nancy by pushing her into the water. But from the sounds of it, the water came to her. So Percy is like, wow, what happened? But now he is in trouble with Mrs. Dodds, who is taking him aside to deal with his bad behaviour. But when she has taken him aside to somewhere more secure, that is when she turns into a monster. And her monstrous form, even though it is Megan from Will and Grace, is dope. Obviously, we haven't seen what it looks like on the show yet, but I'm assuming it's going to be looking very cool. But she tries to kill Percy and is asking where it is. At this point, Mr. Brunner and Grover come to Percy's rescue. They throw him a pen, the pen becomes a sword, and Mrs. Dodds is no more. So, that means she now gets a fancy little X that is backwards that goes on her face. This is a very dangerous thing to do. Mrs. Dodds is now KO and Percy is all alone. I'm gonna have to put this down. Percy is now all alone. When he then leaves after killing someone, he finds that no one knows who Mrs. Dodds is. And in fact, they had an entirely different teacher this whole semester. But Grover here is not good at lying. And so, Percy realises something isn't quite right. We then make it back to Yancey Academy and things are still kind of a little bit wonky. Percy is still convinced that Mrs. Dodds existed even though no one else remembers, except Grover, still being shit at lying, is not very convincing. There's always a little bit too much of a pause before his answers, which to Percy is suspicious, but seeing as people are thinking he's crazy now, he's stopping talking about it. We then go to Mr. Brunner's Latin class, and he gets a talk from Mr. Brunner at the end, basically saying, sorry kid, better luck next time, which is super embarrassing, super unkind, and you know, things just really aren't going well. He hears at one point in the night, I forgot to mention this because I think that happened beforehand, he hears Mr. Brunner and Grover talking together and hears the distinct sound of horses. No, horseshoes. Not actual, no, he hears like, that's not the sound, but you guys know what I mean. He hears the sound of horses after these two have been talking about Percy. And then the event of like, hey, better luck next time happens with Mr. Brunner. And you know, that sucks, that's mean. He really liked his Latin classes, but his dyslexia and ADHD do cause him some learning difficulties because they are a learning disability. I should know, I have dyslexia and currently undiagnosed ADHD. And yeah, so this is all very awkward, it's all very sad, but then Percy and Grover start to head home for the winter semester. And, you know, things are kind of sounding good. Grover's like, hey, send me messages or come visit me at this camp that I'll be going to. And Percy's all kind of sad because like, I'm poor. Grover's not because he has a camp that he gets to go to. He then ditches Grover after an encounter. I forgot about this just now. I've also forgotten to put these on here. Damn it. They have an encounter with 3 old women and a string. What is this string? With some string. And the problem is, Percy sees them pull the string, and he also sees them cut the string. And that sends Grover into a spiral of sheer panic for reasons Percy does not understand, and neither do we yet. And basically what happens is Grover's spiral of panic of, oh god, it's always the something grade. I don't know how the American school system works. It's always that grade, it's always that grade. Percy's like, all right, I'm out. This is insane. I'm kind of concerned. I just want to get home to my fantabulous mother, Sally Jackson. But also the unfortunate situation of being around his terrible stepfather, Gabe Ugliano. I feel like I didn't point out at the start. I'm using all the pictures of the cast that we currently have for the characters. I could have used the artwork. I have in some cases, but I wanted to use the cast photos. Anyway, I've fallen on a pillow. Basically, what happens here is that Sally and Percy are having a good time. Gabe's a dick. That is basically currently the situation, but thankfully, Percy's not going to have to be there for long for his semester because he and his mum have gained permission to go to Montauk, which is their favourite place to go for a sort of mini vacation. They take Gabe's car. Percy is threatened by said Gabe to not destroy the car even though he's 12 and can't drive. And yeah, they head down to Montauk, and it sounds like a really nice situation. They are able to spend time together as mother and son. Percy then asks about his dad when they are down at Montauk. That is a beach place that they go to, and it also turns out to be the place in which Sally met Percy's father, who she says disappeared one day. He's not missing, he's not dead, he's just somewhere. Suspicious. And things are kind of going pretty well until that night, where it is thundering and storming and everything is going very badly. And as someone who doesn't like thunder and lightning, I'd be shitting myself. But at that point, Grover turns up at the house in Montauk, and both Grover and Sally know each other, and that in and of itself is suspicious. I'm going to stay here for a little bit, lean up against the wall. Sally and Grover know each other. Percy is like, what the fuck? And things just continue to go badly, because Grover says they need to go, they need to run, they are in trouble. What are they in trouble from? I forgot to do his picture. Shit. So they get in the car and they're driving, and things going badly. And things go from bad to worse when their car is knocked over and they end up in an accident trapped in the car. Thankfully, they're able to get out in time, but it is at that point that Percy sees in the distance a half bull, half man who is coming for them. He is also in an adult nappy. So that's fun. And things get even worse from there, because they are having to run for their lives. Grover has been knocked unconscious. Sally is struggling. Percy has no idea what the hell is going on. And you know what? That's fair enough. Wouldn't know either. But they then get to this barrier, which at this point causes some more problems, because Sally cannot cross the border. I don't remember why, but she can't. It is here things get very, very worse, because Sally is killed by the half man, half bull. And Percy sees the whole thing. And in a fit of rage, he kills the half man, half bull. This boy has a body count. This boy has a body count and a half. And he's 12. That's impressive. It's probably suspicious, and I understand why some things happen later on. But 12 and kills 2 monsters. Pretty cool. And at this point, Percy then passes out. It is here that he then wakes up 2 days later, after having some waking up moments where a girl that looks like this says he drools in his sleep. We don't learn anything else about her for a little while. He then wakes up with Grover at his side, and Grover is feeling guilty as hell, and also he's got some goat legs, and that is insane but very cool. And so it turns out that Grover is a satyr, and he was meant to be Percy's protector, but as we can see, even though he got Percy there okay, he wasn't able to protect Sally. And also technically Percy got them across the line because Grover had got knocked out. So, not really the best start for Grover. It is then that he then takes him to what is called the Big House, where we once again meet Mr. Brunner, whose real name is Chiron, protector and trainer of champions, aka the person CPS should be concerned about, because this man has gotten many children killed, and we will talk about this at a later point. But he's pretty cool, he's fun, he's okay. He's got some issues with how the camp is run. We'll talk about that on another session. But also he meets this man right here, the angel, who I'm so excited about this casting. But this is Mr. D, also known as Dionysus, a Greek god. And that is when Percy is like, holy shit, what? And yeah, again, if I was in that situation, completely understand. We also then officially meet Annabeth Chase. And Annabeth is awesome. She is incredible. She also tells him he draws when he sleeps at this point. I got it wrong. Beforehand, she says, "Where is it?" or something or along those lines. And then when she's like ushered away, she then says, "You draw in your sleep." And he's like, "What?" And that cemented her in iconic status. And I'm so excited for when we see that in the show. But anyway, we then gain further information that Percy is a demigod, a half-human, half-god offspring that is born from the relations between a god and a mortal. But they don't know who his godly parent is at this point, because he has not yet been claimed. Because claiming, as Mr. Brunner, Chiron, explains, is the way for them to be notified as to who their godly parent is. Sometimes it happens straight away, sometimes it does not. And as Grover says, he really hopes that it's someone minor, because otherwise things are not going to be great for what's going to happen next. But anyway, Mr. Brunner gives Percy a tour of the camp, and things are going pretty well. He meets a lot of fun people who I've not put up on the board, but he also meets a not very fun people in the form of Clarice Chase. Oh no, it wasn't Mr. Brunner who was showing him around, it was Annabeth who was showing him around. But then they meet Clarice LaRue, and Clarice is going to give him, what are they called? A swirly? I don't know. Shove his head down the toilet. That's what she was planning to do, when the entire toilet explodes. And he becomes Supreme Lord of the bathroom. And it was iconic, was it not, Percy Jackson? And yes, that is our first minor antagonist in the form of Clarice LaRue. And she says, "Payback will be a bitch." Okay, not exactly those words, but basically, and if they could swear in this, I would like her to say it. It is after this point that Percy is taken to the Hermes cabin, which is a place for demigods who have not yet been claimed to kind of hang about for a little while until they are, because Hermes is the god of travellers, and he looks after people who just need a place to stay for the meantime. And this is where we'd meet Luke Castellan, the heartthrob of Camp Half-Blood, who Annabeth has a crush on. And Percy is pretty convinced that he is very, very cool. And you know what? Fair enough, because, I could believe it, because, look at this man. Absolute legendary behaviour right here. And Luke is just really cool, and he welcomes Percy in instantly. He's there to kind of keep an eye on him, help him out. I also realised we got this the wrong way around. They meet Luke first, and then they meet Clarice. Wow. My memory's not as good as I thought it was. But anyway, at this point, they then have what is called Capture the Flag, which is an exciting endeavour in which two teams made up of multiple different godly kids decided by the leaders. In this case, it is the Athena cabin on one side, the Ares cabin on one side, and they pick who's going to be joining them. It is Annabeth's Athena camp, because she's a daughter of Athena, who pick Hermes cabin, which is where Percy's involved. So Percy is on Annabeth's team, and they are up against Clarice from the Ares cabin and a few other camps as well. And Capture the Flag goes as well as can be expected, because Percy knows nothing. So because of this, and because he's already started conflict with Miss Clarice LaRue, Annabeth, Queen of Strategy, sends him in as a decoy for Clarice to go after. And basically, he gets his ass whooped. Clarice is having a great time, even after problems arise by Percy destroying her sparking spear. And thankfully, because of this distraction, Luke gets the flag for the Athena team. And everyone is, well, I say everyone, Clarice is pissed at Percy. Everyone is happy that Luke has gotten the flag, and things go pretty well until more fighting occurs with Clarice and Percy. But things just get worse from there, because when things start to calm down a little bit, a monster appears. And in this case, Okay, this isn't the right one, but this somewhat counts. Ugh. We then have a hellhound appear and try to kill Percy. And things do just badly go from bad to worse really for Percy. He's not having a good time. Thankfully for our boy, not only has he healed from Clarice's attack by going to the water, but Chiron kills the hellhound. Let's just... dead. Kills him dead. But, you know, things are just... like, Percy's not doing great, so he goes into the water again, at the behest of Annabeth's words. And whilst in the water, he heals. And this is where more problems for our boy Percy arise, because Chiron and Grover and Annabeth start to realise what that means. And then, to make matters worse, the claiming happens. Percy's father is Poseidon. Dun 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 dun. Why is this bad, you may ask? Well, the big three, Zeus, Hades and Poseidon, signed a pact to say they would have no more kids after World War II because of the problems they cause. And Percy, well, Percy is a direct breaking of that pact. And boy, this kid is just not having a good time, is he? Okay, I've just had the realisation that I said Grover is going away to a camp for the winter. It's summer. It's the end of school. Why did I say winter? I should know right now. It is so hot, I'm sweltering. I should have remembered it was summer. Sorry. The context of why I've remembered this now is that Percy is being granted a quest because Zeus here has figured out that Poseidon has broken the pact. And the reason why this is trouble is because Zeus's master bolt, the thing that gives him his power, has been stolen. So when Mrs. Dodds here was asking where is it, she was meaning the bolt. When she was asked, when Annabeth was asking, she was meaning the bolt. I can't remember if there was anyone else who was asking. There was no one else who was asking. And yeah, so Percy is just in a whole lot of shit, and he still has no idea really what's been going on because he has no idea what's happening. And so he's given a quest to go find Zeus's master bolt to clear his name. And he asks for Grover and Annabeth to come along with him because Annabeth knows what's up and Grover is his friend and he knows him. But they have only until the summer solstice before Zeus probably kills him. So, you know, not a lot of time, not very fun. And, you know, they've got to go find Hades because Mr. Brunner believes Hades has stolen the bolt. Because Hades is the only one who would benefit from Zeus losing his power. Because the man is not happy. He is ruling the underworld. He got the short end of the stick out of the three. And he's always looking for revenge. So this makes a lot of sense for him. Or does it? Before they head off on the quest, Luke, who is a master trainer, who's also been working with Percy a little bit in the meantime and showing that Percy, you know, has some natural skill with a sword, although he's not as good as Luke because Luke is like a master swordsman basically. He offers Percy some Hermes flying shoes because he hopes that they will be of use to him on his quest because they've done him a lot of good in the past. Oh, big factor, Luke has a huge scar on his face from a quest he did in the past for his father, who is not on here, but he'll be in it soon, Hermes. And he's got a little bit of resentment, but you know, he's good friends with Annabeth. He cares about Percy to a degree. He's like a mentor figure. And unfortunately, Mr. Brunner mentions to Percy later on that flying shoes probably aren't good for him because Zeus will not like him. So him being in the air, flying, which is Zeus's domain, may not be good for him. So Percy gives the flying shoes to Grover. And thus begins the start of their quest. So our trio are beginning our quest, and they have now officially become our trio. And so they're getting a bus into New Jersey to basically begin their journey to California, which is where the Underworld entrance is. Do we know why? Not really. I guess it kind of makes sense because maybe that's where dreams die, which is depressing to think about, but I get it. It's like London. Sorry, I'm really hot. And unfortunately, Percy recognises one of the people on the bus. Who is that person he recognises? Well, they gotta remove... Oh God. Oh no. I broke her face. I broke her face. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. So, Mrs. Dodds is alive, and she has her two sisters with her, and they are out to kill Percy and his two friends because they want the Master Bolt, because they believe Percy has it. Wait, no. They attack Percy and his friends because they intend to take him to Hades, I think, or kill him, either or. I think it's like either or. I can't remember exactly. It's either take to Hades or just kill him, so he then ends up in Hades world, in the Underworld for Hades, but he'll be dead. One of the two. And anyway, so they flee the bus by blowing it up with Mrs. Dodds and the others on board. Thankfully, they've allowed, the people to get off first, but this is going to lead to some problems for Percy. Now, they then are fleeing on foot and find their ways to this place called Auntie M's Gnome Emporium. And unfortunately, Auntie M, though, seemingly a nice lady, is actually Medusa. And Medusa was Poseidon's ex. Is that correct in mythology? No. Am I mad that they made Medusa an ex-girlfriend? Yes. Well, I cover it right now. No. And she also hates Annabeth because Annabeth's mother, Athena, turned her into the Gorgon. And so she is trying to kill them all, basically. She's killed Grover's uncle Ferdinand, who was going on a search, as we find out, to try and find Pan. Is considering trying to kill Annabeth and just kill her, and then turn Percy into stone just to, a beautiful statue to symbolise her happiness in her relationship with Poseidon or something. Either way, things go badly. They kill Medusa, they get her head. Percy is pissed at his dad and the gods, so wraps up her head and sends it to the gods, because our boy is the king of sass. They manage to find some money at Auntie M's place, and also a lost dog that Grover can talk to, because he can talk to animals, which is it's basically like Eliza Thornberry. Grover is our modern day Eliza Thornberry. Love that for him. And they managed to get $200 worth of money, which gets them to the Gateway Arch, which is in St. Louis, which I don't know where that is. America is very confusing. That's all I have to say. Annabeth is super into architecture because her mum is an architect, and she's the goddess of architecture and arts and crafts and all that sort of stuff. So she wants to see the Gateway Arch. So all the problems that follow are solely her responsibility. And so they are heading up to the top of the arch. Grover and Annabeth have gone up in one elevator, and Percy's gone up in another, where he has met a woman called Anchidna, and her chihuahua, which is actually a chimera. I haven't put any of them on here. Bugger. It's a chimera. And Percy has to battle the chimera and to save the people and save himself. He skydives off the arch and into the nearby water. Is it remotely possible, based on what I have looked at for the images from the top of the arch to the nearby water? No, it shouldn't be. Will I let them get away with it because it's a middle grade series? No. I'm sorry, no, I will let them get away with it because, you know, fair enough. He's the son of Poseidon, he can get into water. It is a while in the water, he then meets a nymph who tells him to go to the ocean before he gets to the underworld. Do we get full explanations as to why? No, but he listens because he's a good boy. The three then get on a train to Denver. Again, no idea where that place is. I'm assuming it's close to California, or at least halfway. It is when they arrive in Denver that they get off the train, because they can go no further because they got no money, and go to a local diner because they are hungry. The only issue is they got no money. But thankfully, or not really thankfully, Ares arrives, the god of war. And he has this sort of tendency to make people angry, and it causes problems. But he basically says not only is the food he's getting for them free, because he's intimidating people, he wants them to do a quest for him, which is go to this love ride of this abandoned amusement park and get something that he and Aphrodite left in that place. And Percy and Annabeth don't particularly want to do this, but they do it because he says that he'll help them. So, you know, they end up having to do it. Chaos basically ensues the moment they arrive, because they have got to go into this love ride, and Percy and Annabeth are doing it, and then things go chaotically bad very quickly. Not only do mechanical spiders that terrify Annabeth appear, the ride becomes active, and they all nearly die, but thankfully are helped by Grover. Returning a scarf and shield to Ares, they receive a free dodgy trip in the back of a unlicensed animal van that Ares has somewhat provided for them, which will take them all the way to Las Vegas. Will take them all the way to Las Vegas. And the whole time they're in that van, Grover is hating every second of it because the animals that are in there are miserable and unhappy, and it's a terrible time. Animal cruelty, hate it all, and he is justifiably angry, and so are Annabeth. No, that's not Annabeth. So are Percy and Annabeth, because it's absolutely horrible to see animals in this condition. Which, fair enough, animal cruelty is bad. Because people didn't know. In case people didn't know, animal cruelty is bad. They managed to, Grover has a little sleeps, and Percy and Annabeth kind of have a little bit of a heart-to-heart. Oh, I forgot to mention, the other thing that Ares gives them is the information that Percy's mum, Sally, is not actually dead. She's just been taken hostage by Hades. It is when the trio arrive in Las Vegas that they end up in what is called the Lotus Hotel and Casino. That is also not here. And things go from, questionable to even more questionable when they are given a room without having to pay for it, are able to have access to anything and everything in the hotel without paying for it, and Percy is immediately suspicious. But Annabeth and Grover are having the time of their lives. Grover is killing humans as a deer in a game, and Annabeth is creating architecture and models in a game as well, and is just obsessed. And you know what? We kind of love that for her. But thankfully, Percy fully understands that this is a trap when he talks to someone who thinks it's the 80s. And you know it's bad when there's someone from the 80s there. And so he gets them out of the casino very quickly and very easily. Well, not easily, there's some struggle, and they're nearly captured again. And the entire thing has led to them being stuck in that casino for multiple days. They only have 1 day left now until the summer solstice. And, it's not looking great for them. It's not looking great. So they give the Lotus Casino card that they were given to a taxi driver to get them closer to where the Underworld entrance is. It is before they make it to the underworld, though, that Percy remembers that the Nereid says he must go to the ocean before he goes to the underworld. It is while there and getting a ride from a Mako shark, he then meets the Nereid once more, and she gives him 3 pearls, saying that these pearls can be used to escape the underworld without Hades' permission. And so, there's only 3, and if he's going to rescue his mum, that could lead to some complications. So it will be up to him when the time comes. There is another thing before we kind of get to the underworld to do with Percys. And basically they end up in this mattress shop and are nearly stretched to death. It's okay. I hate the scene personally because it's just like, there's just one more thing leading to delays before they get to the underworld, and I don't really want to talk about it, so we're going to move on. Thankfully, the trio then proceed to what is entitled DOA Recording Studios, which is the cover for the Underworld. I can't remember how they figured out it was the cover. I do remember now, it was at Auntie M's. There was like a postcard or something from the Underworld, which was DOA Recording Studios. It is here that Percy then bribes Charon into letting them in, believing that they are spirits. It is whilst entering the underworld that they meet. Okay, so this is not going to be technically accurate. Oh God. But they meet. What's it called? what's the dog called? Cerberus. They meet Cerberus. I know this isn't Cerberus because it's a hellhound, but they're similar. It's fine. They meet Cerberus, the dog who is guarding the underworld and stopping unruly spirits. Annabeth plays with the dog because all he wants is someone to play fetch with, which is a very cute and very sad thing at the same time. And basically they play fetch with the dog and get through. More issues occur when Mrs. Dodge reappears because this woman will not die. And they then make it to the main part of the underworld and meet. Oh no, they don't. I'm skipping ahead. It is whilst they are heading through the fields of that Grover's flying shoes started going haywire and nearly drag him to Tartarus. Why did they do that? Well, we'll find out eventually. Oh, fuck. Thankfully, Percy and Annabeth save Grover's life and let the shoes disappear down into this giant pit. What is in the pit? Well, that will be Tartarus. What was waiting for them at the bottom of Tartarus? Again, we will find out soon. But before that moment, they have to meet Mrs. Dodds again and end up meeting Hades, who, as Percy describes, is currently the only god he has met so far who appears godly. He is like intense looking, he's terrifying, he reeks of power, and immediately Percy starts treating Hades with some serious respect, calling him uncle, lord, all this sort of stuff. And it's the only time he talks like that to a god, and I think that's important. Anyway, they explain to Hades that not only did he not steal the Master Bolt, he didn't steal Hades' helm, because that was also taken. But things end up being a little bit more complicated when the backpack that Percy was given by Ares has the Master Bolt. Because Ares, is actually the villain. Things have gone from bad to worse. Percy is now being blackmailed by saying, hey, if you give me it, I'll let your mum go. And Percy's like, hey uncle, mate, I'm really sorry, but can't be doing that, but don't worry, I'll get you your helm back, I'll help you out, it's all good, we're chill, it's fine. And Percy, Grover and Annabeth use the 3 pearls and escape back to the surface, where they are confronted once again by Ares. And Ares is like, hey, I see you figured out what happened here, because he's got the helm with him at this point. And Percy's like, yeah, you're a dickhead. That's what we figured out. And Ares is not happy about this whole situation. And so Ares and Percy duel on a beach. And because there is this thing called the mist that clouds the eyes of mortals, there are mortals nearby who think it's a gunfight because their swords look like guns. They also recognise Percy as the little terrorist. Maybe I can't say that. No, I've said it now anyway. And yes, they are battling it out, and the only time Percy's doing pretty well is when he is near water. But thankfully, he's able to kind of throw off Ares's abilities and gets the upper hand by cutting the back of his leg. He's not a trained fighter, but he does know how to play to his advantage. And also Ares is huge, so you know, the bigger they are, the bigger they are. Sorry, there's a Teen Wolf reference. The bigger they are, you know, the slower they move, all that sort of stuff, I don't know. And it is at this point that Percy realises that Ares wasn't the one fully in control. Everything that he was doing was being guided by dreams he was having. Dreams that Percy himself has been having this entire time. Where a voice in a deep cavern and a fellow voice that has been supporting this supposed master has been planning everything. And yeah, it's just going from bad from worse. But thankfully, Mrs. Dodds has seen that Ares was the one who stole the stuff and has said that Percy is now off the hook. She takes the helm that Ares has left behind, and at this point, you know, things are still going really badly because all this terrible stuff is happening. But thankfully, because mortal minds are easy to manipulate, Percy and the three are able to convince all the mortals that they weren't terrorists, they were actually children who were kidnapped. And mortal minds try to recreate the fact that, yeah, I remember seeing this guy. He was getting the kids off the bus. He was kidnapping them. And so, to get back to New York, to Mount Olympus, Gabe Ugliano's shop is not only being advertised as giving out things at half price by Percy, the public crowdfund, basically, for these kids to get back to New York safely. He's not happy about flying in a plane, but he literally has no other choice. That is the only way to get back to New York in under a day, I think. I'm assuming. I don't know how that stuff works. But they get back to New York and head to Olympus. And when Olympus, they meet Zeus and Poseidon face to face. It is while there that Percy informs Zeus that it was Ares who had taken his bolt, and also, well, I don't think he mentions about the helm, but he says that Ares took the bolt and he's returned it for him, and you know, everything should be cool now. And Zeus accepts it, like, yeah, it's fine, whatever. And he leaves, and then Percy has a moment with his dad. I realised I forgot to mention that Grover and Annabeth aren't here. It's just Percy. And so Percy and his dad have a moment, which kind of sucks for Percy because Big Daddy P here, I hate that. Father Poseidon here is a knob and says that it'd be better if Percy didn't exist. And Percy's like, cool, thanks, Dad. And it's kind of like, yeah, okay, I'm just going to go. I'm going to go back to camp. It's also been noted that Percy's mum, Sally, has been returned. I think that was mentioned by Mrs. Dodds at some point, but I forgot to mention it. So she's been returned, and he goes back to camp. No. Does he go back to camp first? I can't remember. Hold on. Okay, so I don't remember what happens next. I can't remember if Percy goes home first or not. I think he doesn't. Yeah, no. I think he does go home first, actually. Gabe's a dick. He also learns that Gabe has seemingly been physically abusing Sally. And so he finds a gift from Poseidon in his room, which is Medusa's head. Percy says, hey, I've killed a lot of people. I can kill him. And Sally's like, hey, no, I got myself into this. I got to get myself out. Turns out the only reason why she was married to Gabe is because his pungent odour covers Percy's scent. Does any of that make sense based on the canon stuff we know about? No, and I'll be doing a video about that in future. But anyway, things are okay, and she says, I'm going to be getting out of it. And Percy, before heading back to camp, I think, sees that Percy is wondering how Gabe will look as a statue. We do find out later. She does turn him into a statue. Sally is committed murder, love it, has sold the statue and makes a bunch of money, and she finds a place for them to live that is nicer, and gets Percy a reservation at a new boarding school if he will take it. But anyway, back at camp, Percy, Grover and Annabeth are heroes. The only person who is not that happy is Luke, seemingly, who Percy meets by the river. And it is at this point that things go from bad to worse. Well, in this case, it went from good to worse because it is revealed that Luke has been working with Kronos. Who is Kronos, you may ask? He is a Titan. He is the ultimate Titan. He is the parent of the gods. And he is coming back with the help of Luke, who wants the gods dead. And he wants Percy to help him. Percy refuses, and Luke brings in a Underworld scorpion, I think, to kill him. And things are just not going great, because instead of just being a side mental character, oh god, come on now, Luke is now the ultimate villain. Anyway, so Percy passes out, nearly dies, all that fun stuff. Thankfully, Chiron saves his life, and Annabeth doesn't fully believe him, seemingly, but he tells him all that happened. Everything is quite bad, and they're kind of like, well, we're going to have to see how this goes, basically, because we don't know what else is going to happen. And that is basically kind of how The Lightning Thief ends, with Percy deciding to go back to school for the next semester instead of staying at Camp Half-Blood all year round, which makes no logical sense to me, unless, of course, there is no actual formal education at Camp Half-Blood. Then I would understand, because this man, seriously, CPS, he's giving these kids no seemingly formal education. How is Annabeth educated? She's been here the whole time, although she's going back to her family this summer after being somewhat convinced by Percy in the truck with the zoo animals, because she's had a very terrible time. She ran away from home when she was 7. All very terrible, traumatic stuff, but she's giving her family another chance. By the way, the other chance is that this is their second time. So hopefully they don't screw it up. We'll see, shall we? But this is how things are looking thus far. Oh, by the way, no, Ares can stay there as a villain. Also, I forgot. Hold on. I forgot. Medusa is dead. Oh, and Gabe is dead. So, yeah, this is how things are looking right now. This is just book 1. This is how things are looking so far. Let's go into the Sea of Monsters, shall we? Just as I was about to start Sea of Monsters, someone's car alarm is going off. Hopefully, they'll deal with it soon. But in the meantime, let's get into Sea of Monsters, Book 2 of Percy Jackson and the Olympians. Now, only a few things have changed on our wall, and we're gonna be going through it. Again, I have come to realise I have not gotten everyone's image that should be up on the wall, but I do not care, because I am making no money since I left my job, so this is the extent of what I can afford cost-wise for printing. So deal with it, or support me on Patreon so I can make money. Thank you, and let's get to it. Anyway, we start with Percy, because of course we do, it is his series, and he is at this school called Merryweather College Prep. And it sounds like my worst nightmare. But he is there, and he is by himself because Grover is no longer with him. But he's not starting the story without Grover. Instead, he is starting the story with Grover in his dreams. And Grover is wearing a wedding dress, and he is running for his life. And then a big scary voice appears that then has the dream end. And Percy wakes up and is heading to Merryweather Prep. Yes, I started too soon with Merryweather. It is whilst at Merryweather that we meet his newfound friend, a big, sweet, big-hearted fella named Tyson. Should Tyson have a bigger picture? Yes. Could I afford to do so? No. So yes, we have Tyson, who is Percy's friend at this school. Not intentionally. It was more Tyson was being bullied and he stood up for him. So now they have been paired together. And Percy's kind of like, he's not the biggest fan of it, but he's also a kind of good dude. But also, as you will see, we have something in this category here entitled Love Interests. And that is the fact that Percy has a picture of Annabeth in his book. And so we get the hints of Annabeth being his love interest. And yes, this is the original artwork for Annabeth. I've got both because I couldn't do another Leah big picture because I can't. This was better cost-wise doing a small Annabeth. Again, poor. And yes, so hints of love interests with Annabeth. But also Percy is now being teased by this douchebag whose name I can't remember. What's his name? Oh God, what's his name? And I can't see it. That doesn't help, does it? Anyway, well, there are some bullies who are bullying Tyson, but now they're also going after Percy because of Annabeth. And things kind of get a little bit more complicated when Percy and Tyson are in PE for a game of dodgeball. But this game of dodgeball soon turns deadly when some things called Lasterian giants take part with the school bully to kill Percy. And yeah, Percy is not having a good time at all. And thankfully, Annabeth, with her invisibility cap, comes to the rescue. But not before the school blows up and Percy is once again a fugitive. We then are revealed that it was Annabeth who saved Percy's life from the giant named Joe Bob. But Tyson is now with them and is making their way to Camp Half-Blood. Not that Annabeth is particularly pleased about this, because as we find out later on, Tyson here is a Cyclops, specifically a baby Cyclops. They arrive at Camp Half-Blood and things are in the drink because they are in a lot of trouble. Things are, it's being attacked basically, specifically this time by the Cochleus Bull. No, I'm probably saying that wrong. And you are going to be making fun of the way that I've said Cochleus Bull, because I'm also going to make fun of the way I'm saying it. But yeah, so it's not going well. But we have, where is she? Clarice fighting against these bulls, and then Percy and Annabeth are getting involved to help save the day. But you know, things still aren't particularly going well for them. But at least they managed to take out the bull. It turns out the reason why trouble has been occurring with monsters is because Talia, you know, who has a cross over her because she did, her tree has been poisoned. I realise I did not mention this in the previous book, but Talia is a previous child who is a child of the Big Three. She is a daughter of Zeus. Died on her way to Camp Half-Blood where she was with Annabeth and Luke. She gave her life to save them. And in, you know, thanks for her death, I guess, I don't know, Zeus here, Big Daddy, I hate that so much. Why am I doing this? Zeus turned her into a tree. And that's where we are now. So her tree has been poisoned. And that means that the barrier that is protecting the camp from monsters getting in is fading fast, and which is why the bull was able to get into the camp and cause mayhem. As it turns out though, the situation with the poisoning is being laid fully on Chiron's feet, or hooves, on Chiron's hooves, because of reasons we'll find out. I think at this, we've already found out. Yes, no, he is a son of Kronos. That is why. We found out that Chiron is technically a son of Kronos, which means he's suspected for poisoning the tree because, you know, this guy who's been raising heroes and, you know, protecting them for just centuries, of course, he'd be causing the problems. And, you know, Kronos being his dad, like, Kronos is the dad for all the gods. That could be the only reason why he'd be helping. I don't know. The gods are stupid. But as his replacement, we have Tantalus brought in, who you may recognise the name also from Greek mythology, in the sense that this guy was a dickhead who I believe, was it him? I think it was. He's been summoned from the fields of punishment. He was the guy who fed Zeus the entrails of his kids, I think. Yeah, that is correct. Yes, because he threatens Percy with it later. So he has been, you know, his punishment is that he never eat or drink again. And that punishment is continued whilst he is in Camp Half-Blood with Mr. Dionysus here. And the problems are that both Mr. D and Tantalus hate kids, and you know what, valid. And so none of the kids at Camp Half-Blood are having a good time, because, you know, who would want a camp run by people who hate children? That sounds like a movie. That probably is a movie. But yes, this is around the time that we do officially find out that Tyson is a Cyclops. And the fact that he is a Cyclops means that he is also a son of Poseidon. Specifically, a son of Poseidon born through a nymph. Which means that he is Percy's half-brother. Dun dun dun, family drama. Who is the one who just, to be like Jeremy Kyle here in the UK, though I think that got cancelled, didn't it? Because of all this, yeah. But you know, he is the father. Yeah, because he is a Cyclops, everyone is making fun of Percy for being related to a Cyclops, specifically Clarice, because Clarice is the mean girl, and you know what? It's Diorga John. She probably had her reasons. I mean, you know, what was it? She is the embodiment of gatekeep. What was it? Gaslight, gatekeep, girl boss. That is Clarice right here, and we love her for that. But yeah, things just aren't going well for Percy. He's being bullied. Annabeth isn't happy with Tyson either, for reasons currently unknown. And yeah, it's just everyone is having a terrible time because Tantalus is a knob. It is then that a new competition is brought in to camp. So they used to have these things called chariot races, but they were discontinued because a lot more people were getting hurt. But Tantalus, he loves a good punishment. So he has brought back chariot racing, where two people work together to create a chariot, the person who drives it and the person who is like the fighter. You hold it like this, the fighter of it all. And originally Percy and Annabeth were going to, you know, join together, but they have a huge argument about Luke, Tyson, all this sort of stuff. So Percy teams up with Tyson, and you know, they're doing pretty well. Tyson is very good with his craftsmanship because, what was it, Cyclopses have like an affinity for like blacksmithing, which is why he gets on really well with the new side character we're introduced to, Beckendorf, Charles Beckendorf, who is a ray of sunshine and is a child of Hephaestus. And yeah, no, this friendship, I want more. I want more. Give me a short story of the friendship between Charles and Tyson. But things then go from bad to worse because the chariot race goes terribly when these things called the Cerulean birds attack everyone. And so Percy and Annabeth have to work together to stop the birds from attacking by creating by playing terrible music to scare them away. But whilst they're doing this, Clarice wins the chariot race. And that will be important later. Percy has been having dreams via an empathy link that Grover created between the two of them. This is Grover again. That has been showing that Grover is stuck in a place called the Sea of Monsters. And supposedly what is in the Sea of Monsters is the Golden Fleece, a powerful fleece that can, heal anyone, protect anything, restore balance, blah, blah, blah. And Annabeth and Percy believe this Golden Fleece could save Camp Half-Blood. And so they go to Tantalus with this idea that the Golden Fleece is something they need to go and find, and it should be a quest that he issues. And he also mentions that, he got a bunch of numbers from the Grey Sisters, something I forgot to mention. He was in a taxi with the Grey Sisters, with Annabeth and Tyson, that took them to camp, which is how they arrived at camp so quickly. And they gave him a bunch of numbers, and he believes that they are ocean coordinates, longitude and latitude. And they give coordinates of what the Sea of Monsters is. And Tantalus, to everyone's surprise, agrees to give out a quest. But he's a dick. So he gives out the quest to Clarice because she won the chariot race. And thus that means she is the most competent demigod. I don't disagree. But obviously Annabeth and Percy do disagree because it is their friend Grover who is trapped in the Sea of Monsters, and it'll be going to find him that they'll be able to find the Golden Fleece. But now they can't because, say with me now, Tantalus is a dick. In Percy's frustration at not being able to go out to save his friend, he goes for a walk along the beach. It is while here that he bumps into someone in a tracksuit and thinks they are a lost mortal who somehow managed to make their way into camp due to the fact that currently the barriers are a little bit wonky. But as it turns out, that tracksuit guy is Hermes, the god, Luke's father. And yes, this is a picture of Nathan Fillion. Is it Fillion or Fallion? I don't know. Because that was probably the best godly casting in the movies that shall not be named. Anyway, Hermes says, hey, just go on the quest if you want to. Like, maybe some rights will be corrected from the wrongs that are being done. He gives them a bunch of stuff, so some not nutrients, so what are they? He gives them some vitamins, some ambrosia, some mortal money, etc, 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 backpacks and like some special items. And then, Annabeth and Tyson, I just realised, Annabeth and Tyson appear, and Percy says, hey, we gonna go on this quest. And some hippocampus appear. And they take a ride out to the ocean where they find this cruise ship named the Princess Andromeda. And it is here that they find that this entire ship is full of monsters. Although first they find out it's empty and then eventually find out it's full of monsters. But it is a ship that is run by Mr. Luke Castellan. How do we find out that it is run by Luke Castellan? Well, our kids are captured. Basically, that's what happens here. They're captured and things go really badly. And it finds out that Luke here has a golden coffin in which he is trying to bring Kronos back in. And the Golden Fleece is what he intends to use to do it. And that's just not great for our heroes because they do not want this guy's big bad to come back because they will be officially screwed. Thankfully though, with some tricks of the trade, Annabeth, Percy and Tyson make it off the ship in one piece. And they're still not great. And unfortunately they end up in an even worse location in that they find somewhere to sleep for the night. It was somewhere that Annabeth, Talia and Luke used to stay in when they were travelling alone, and it's got some memories for Annabeth. And it's while there that Tyson finds a donut shop which is specifically made for monsters, and whilst there they meet a Hydra. Thankfully they don't nearly die because Queen Clarice arrives with a ship full of zombies. This is the problematic part that comes in because the zombies are Confederates from the CS Birmingham. It's we'll just brush over it for now. And basically the ship was given to her by her dad. Where is he? There he is. Ares, to, you know, because she's running this quest. That's awesome. And she decides to kind of take them along with her to the Sea of Monsters, because as it turns out, she's going completely alone. Like, she's going in fully by herself, minus the zombies, to the Sea of Monsters. So she's bringing these guys in either as prisoners or as supporters. And things just kind of don't go any better. We find out Ares is an abusive father. Don't like that. Clarice is kind of struggling with how things are going for the quest, and even worse than that, they make it to the Sea of Monsters, and I've also forgotten to put them down, and nearly die because there are these two different two different monsters that cause problems. There is Scylla, and there is Charbis? What was it? Charbdis. I'll just say Charbdis. And because of Scylla and Charbdis, you know, their ship gets very severely damaged to the point that it is so hot that it's going to explode. And Tyson, being the amazing guy he is, tries to help save the ship. But unfortunately, he goes down with the ship. So it is time. Bye, buddy. Tyson is dead. And Percy is unconscious. But Annabeth is with him, and Clarice got out on her own, I believe. It is whilst Percy and Annabeth are travelling together on a little dinghy that they end up on an island known as Cece's Spa and Resort. I also forgot Cece. Again, I'm poor, don't have that much money to print stuff out with. It is while there that Annabeth is taken aside for a good spa treatment because girls are cool. And Percy is given self-esteem issues because Cece is Circe, and Circe hates men because of what they did to her. And that is valid. But Percy didn't do anything, so, you know, he gets turned into a guinea pig and put into a cage with a bunch of guinea pigs. And it turns out all the guinea pigs from kids' classrooms are from Cece because she sells them. So she's making money off these guinea pigs. And then when Annabeth arrives, we see the love interest element because Annabeth looks incredible to Percy, and Percy is fully aware of how pretty she is. But he is currently a guinea pig. So he, lets out huge squeals, just like, hey, it's me. And there's some angry guinea pigs in there who turn out to be Blackbeard and his pirate team, who are not good people. And Annabeth figures it out and then jumps a bunch of vitamins in with the guinea pigs that Percy gets and all of the pirates get. And they all become human again, and Cece's Spa and Resort is overrun by terrible pirates. That's going to come back to bite their asses. But we'll get to that when we get to that. It is while travelling along that Annabeth and Percy come across an island where sirens appear to be. And Annabeth says that hearing the siren song can give you the answers to the questions that you want. So she wants to hear the song. Percy's kind of like, honey, that seems like a bad idea. And it is, because Annabeth, even though she's tied up, Percy is kind of dumb and forgets to take her dagger away. So when she is hearing the siren song, she cuts herself free and jumps into the water, trying to swim towards them. And if she makes it, she did. So Percy, with the wax in his ear, jumps into the water to go and save Annabeth. When he gets a hold of her, he sees what it is that she is seeing, which is her dad, who's not on here because he's a dick, and her mum, Athena. I don't have her picture up yet, so it's fine. We don't meet her, so it's fine. Or do we? No, we don't. I can't remember. I'll just put her picture up. It's fine. Ugh. Her mum, Athena, are together and happy. And we also see Luke, who is looking happier and is calling to her. And, you know, there is like a joy there. But also, he sees an image of the world. And it looks so much better than it currently is. Because Annabeth has changed it to match what she believes the world should look like. Because her fatal flaw, as we find out after she's rescued by Percy, is hubris. And so I can't remember what hubris means. It's like ego, I think, kind of. Like she believes that she can make a better world, which admittedly, I believe it too. I believe Annabeth could make a better world. So, you know, valid. But yeah, so all of that we've just seen, done her in a little bit. So they carry on the ship journey, making their way to the last island. They also briefly pass by an island which is one of Hephaestus's forge, where a bunch of Cyclopses will be, because he likes the Cyclopses and they help out. And we learn at this point that Annabeth doesn't like Cyclopses because the Cyclopses were the reason why her, Luke and Talia nearly didn't make it to camp, and she believes are the reason why Talia died, because if they'd had more time she wouldn't have had to sacrifice herself, which is why she doesn't like Cyclopses. And the unfortunate part about that is that the final island that they pass by is the island of Polyphemus. It is while on the island that they find out that Polyphemus kidnapped Grover, and Grover is pretending to be a Cyclops bride. Rick, incredible comedy. Now, using their big brains, they use Polyphemus's sheep to get in to Polyphemus's cave to rescue Grover. And thankfully, they have the help of Clarice and Tyson, because he is alive. Not only is he a son of Poseidon, so he can do okay in water, he's a Cyclops, so he's okay with fire, so the explosion did nothing. He's all good, and that is what we love because he is the best. So yes, Annabeth, Percy, Clarice, Tyson, and now Grover are working to defeat Polyphemus, and thankfully they almost do. But Polyphemus, even though they defeat him in battle, he destroys their ship. So, you know, not great. But thankfully, Tyson is friends with the hippocampi, and with the fleece that they've been able to steal from Polyphemus, who is using it to lure in satyrs to eat, they are able to heal Annabeth, who got badly injured, but are able to make it back to camp with the fleece. But it's not Percy and Annabeth who will be going back with the fleece. It is Clarice, because it was her quest, and it's her responsibility to take the fleece back from Florida to New York, because in her going alone, it means that Luke won't get it. Yep, that's right. Luke has been waiting for this whole time, but he was just a little bit too late because Clarice is already on her way back to camp. And it is while Luke has gotten Annabeth, Percy, and Grover captured, as well as Tyson, he says his whole situation of poisoning Talia's tree and all the terrible things he has planned and the work he's doing with Kronos. But unfortunately for Luke, Percy had done an iris message to camp. Iris messages, by the way, are a form of communication where you use a golden drachma, throw it into a rainbow, and it sends out a message. I realised I did not explain it before. Anyway, Percy's message has gone to Camp Half-Bloods, and they know that Luke is responsible, which means Chiron is back in business. And Tantalus, who's just managed to grab hold of I think it was a burger, is being sent back to the Underworld, to the fields of punishment, before he managed to eat anything. That's what you get for being a dickhead. Things are going pretty well. The rest of camp is going all right. They're keeping a protective border for, keeping the fleece under watch. But unfortunately, the Golden Fleece works a little bit too well. Because after Annabeth is out on patrol for the fleece overnight, a girl appears at the bottom of Talia's tree. And who is that girl, you may ask? Oh shit. It's Talia! She's alive! And now she is the oldest of the big three gods' children. That was worded really, but let me try it again. And now she is the eldest of the three gods' children. Conflict. Yeah, that's the end of Sea of Monsters. This has gone on a lot longer than I thought it was going to be. I've only done 2 books, but I think I'm going to end this bit here. So basically, if you want me to do a part 2 and part 3 of the rest of the books, including all the short stories and stuff, be sure to leave a comment, drop a thumbs up, share with your friends, and let me know if you do want these part 2 and 3s to this mini-series I'm doing here, because that's a lot of fun. And there will be an additional costume change in the next part, because in the Titan's Curse, we meet a very interesting character. So if you want a part 2 and part 3 of this chaotic breakdown of Percy Jackson and the Olympians, be sure to subscribe, share with your friends, like I said, comment, like, blah, 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 and I will see you in the next one. Hopefully. This was a lot of work.